never to see him again. The next time that I get to see him is years later. Seduction, TKA, and there was one more group, believe it or not, Information Society again. And we're performing at Prince's Glam Slam Club. And I didn't think that Prince would be in the house. I thought he was on tour. And the funniest thing is that we all finish performing and we run upstairs to just hang out, to chill. And there was a girl in Seduction at the time by the name of Sanoa, very beautiful and very much an Apollonia / Vanity lookalike.
Nice. So we knew that Prince had eyes for her.
Yeah, gorgeous girl. And the funniest thing is that Prince kept looking over towards her. So, and I'm standing with her, and I'm like, he's looking at you. So I guess he must have thought that I was her boyfriend. And, so one of the reps from Warner Brothers, because we were on Warner Brothers at the time, decides to introduce us to Prince. So we walk over to the table. They introduce us to his brother. They introduce us to Prince. A week before, he had just finished releasing Graffiti Bridge, and the movie totally, panned. But I'm a diehard Prince fan, so Prince can't do nothing wrong in my eyes, right?
Absolutely.
So, the critics have just, pooed all over this movie. And here, and basically it was, it was a flop by movie industry standards. And, the first thing that I say to Prince is, I loved your movie. And he looked at me like, idiot. Like the last thing he wanted to hear, and then for the second time, here it is, my idol was there and looked at me like if I had just lost my mind. And I was shy for the rest of the night. I couldn't dare to even approach him because I felt what he must have felt at that very moment.
Well, for me, the only introduction that I've ever got from Prince is the only one that I ever needed, and that was Purple Rain. And I remember my cousins and I sneaking into my uncle's room because he had the VHS player in the room, and we had the Purple Rain that we rented, and we weren't allowed to watch it, but we were watching it anyways, and we would put our foot on the door so nobody could come in because they had those scenes down there on Purple Rain. But I just remember being 12 years old and just sneaking in to watch this movie, and I'm the oldest one of the cousins, and I'm the one that's ashamed of watching the adult scenes, but my cousins are like, oh yes, they're like 4 years younger than me, 3 years younger than me, and having my Aunt Maria, just burst to the door and say, what are you guys doing? And us, trying to turn the movie off and saying, oh no, we're watching, TV, But he was such a trendsetter and just an icon, and I think this is like the second biggest loss for us in our generations. We have Michael Jackson and Prince. I mean, the top two, most artistic men of all time.
From the generation that from the original first generation that started with freestyle, the biggest artists of the time were the top three. The tier was Michael Jackson, Prince, Madonna, and the only thing that we have left is Madonna. And to me, Michael's loss was a big loss for me because I was a fan of Michael, but Prince, I was more than just a fan of Prince. I believe that I was a follower. I was the 25th member of of the revolution. I've gone to see him perform at many places. I used to go to all the Madison Square Garden performances, and right after that, what he would do, he would do a 2-hour set in Madison Square Garden, and then he would go to Roseland and do another hour and a half. And I've seen him do that at least on 4 occasions, and the most incredible shows ever. You'd see him do all the hits at one place and then show up like an hour after he just finished doing his set to do it all again for another, hour and a half to 2 hours, in a club setting, which was amazing.
Is that what gets TKA motivated when they go and do these performances? To see someone like Prince, rock 2 different shows, at 2 different times of the night, and then just wake up like it's nothing? Is that something that inspired you and continues to inspire you to this day?
Oh yeah. I mean, the back in the day, back then, the funniest thing was a lot of people didn't realize this. Our club promoters back in the day were really cheap. So what they would do well, some of them still are, but they were extremely cheap back in the day. And what they would do is they would fly us out to like Miami, but they would divide it between 4 different promoters. So one guy on one side of the city, another guy on the other side of the city, and 2 other guys from outside the city totally would book us. So we'd have 4 shows in the night or 3 shows in the night. So our shows would start around 8 o'clock, and by 2 or 3 in the morning we were done. And we would travel from spot to spot. And to me, a driving force for me to have that energy was the fact that if my idol can do it, then I can do it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And, so, yeah, it was an inspiration for me. It was, it was motivational. It let me know that, that we had to push harder. With people like those people that I mentioned, Michael Jackson, Madonna, Prince. When you ever went to any of these concerts, if you were lucky enough to see a VHS copy of one of these concerts, or if you actually were there, you'd see that from the moment that these people walked on stage to the time that they finished, they would give it their all. I'd seen Prince play the drums, guitar, piano. I'd see him, pick up a sax, play a sax, play a line on a horn. I'd see Michael Jackson, dance his butt off, and then on top of that, act his butt off on stage and give you the best vocal performance that you could ever do. And the extravaganzas that Madonna would put together with a troupe of like 30, New York City kids, was amazing to me. So that was a really motivating factor for me, and I think for people like George Lamond,
Yes, George Lamond, he was very much devastated today when he heard the news of Prince passing. And you could see that all over social media. George Lamond was very, very distraught about that.
Yeah, I was too. I mean, I've taken the whole day just to be at home and just watch the news reports all day long. The funniest thing to me is today, the person who introduced me to Prince is the person who told me that he had passed, and it's the most bugged out thing ever. Joey Gardner was the person who introduced me to Prince, and I was sitting at home and I hadn't turned on the TV. I was basically watching last night's episode of Empire, and I get a text and Joey says, TMZ saying that he passed, and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. So it's a strange thing.
Pretty surreal. Yeah. Let's talk about George Lamond for a second. You have a song with George Lamond on your brand new album, Love Goes On.
Let's do it in order. Let's go to the second song, and then we'll get to that one.
Well, we are. If you're not aware, sir, we are on the second song, and
my bad.
It's played twice.
My bad.
And so, Live My Life.
Live My Life is the second song, and as you guys know, Live My Life's been out for a minute. I've been. Live My Life is actually the first song of the album. Love Goes On is actually the second. Live My Life was the idea that sparked it. When I did the remix of Live My Life and with the freestyle version of it, I felt like it's time for us to do something, for the fans. So, it was the spark that started all these ideas, and getting me to a place where I thought the way that I thought when I was a younger kid, and write, in the way that I write. And that was basically it, I just was writing what was in my heart. And these 2 songs thus far, and Love Goes On is pretty much, talking about things that have actually happened to me throughout much of my, adult life. And then Live My Life is basically, me saying that nothing is going to take me away. Now, this next song, the song that I recorded here with George, is a song that means a lot to me, and it's a really special record for me. I would like them to hear it, and them get their own feeling behind it. I don't want to impose why it's so special to me. I just hope that you can really pay attention to the lyric and the song itself, and I hope that you like it. And the song is called Mama.
Now, let's talk about Mama for one particular second, and that is, I don't like people to guess what songs are all about, and I did text you about this earlier on, and so I wanted to talk about the subject matter of the particular song before we played it, or do you want them to take a wild guess on what the song is about?
I mean, I wanted them to hear, but I don't, I don't mind saying that. A few years ago, in 2011, my short story, my mom had a few strokes, all in one day, and it changed who my mom was totally. And as we get older now, we realize that we don't have all the time in the world with our parents, and we must enjoy the day. And I worry that that the stuff that almost took my mom away, will eventually take my mom away, or my mom could slip away because of the effects of her strokes. And it inspired me to write this song. So, I from there on, I hope that people, understand what it's about.
Now, how did you get George Lamond to collaborate with you on this particular song?
Well, George and I, a couple of years ago, I was doing a mixtape that I never put out. It was called "Do It for Love." And George and I collaborated on a song for Do It For Love. I also collaborated on that project. I had Judy on it as well. But it never came out. I decided to scrap the songs for, a particular reason. And but George and I have always worked together. We've always done, like maybe a song every other year. We've always recorded it. And we've been, we like working with each other. We like singing with each other a lot. I think that, the best that that TKA ever sounded to me was when George and I would share vocals up on stage. I think it was really fun for me and George to bounce back from one another on stage. And
I would have given my kidney just to check out that show. I wasn't able to go to any of those shows where it was TKA featuring George Lamond. I would have killed to be part of that.
I mean, it was extremely fun. So every time that we can get together, and record a song together, we did. I mean, I like when we did when George sang "More Than Words Can Say." That wet my whistle to want to do something with him. And since then, he'll jump on stage. We'll do "Louder Than Love" together at many shows, and Suave will jump up with us. And it's some of my, favorite moments, when we do things like that.
Well, we'll be back with Mama. It's a song with TKA featuring George Lamond on this live listening party. Love goes on sale on your digital distribution sites on April 22nd. And we'll be back to listen to Mama, a song with TKA featuring George Lamond right after this.
Every man's heart one day beats its final beat. And if what that man did in his life makes the blood pulse through the body of others, and his essence, his spirit, will be immortalized forever.
The crazy Puerto Rican. CPR Jose Ortiz is in the building. Jim and freestyle in New England. And now. The world furl. FM, WTCC. It's brand spanking new music.
Mama, it's me. It's your baby boy, the one who learned to run. when you torture